Now that we've got our pear cam assembled, we're ready to go ahead and start actually measuring this. So we've got all assembled, it's all turning. You can see the followers going up and down. We can even move this ruler over if we wanted to. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start this at 0 degrees. So I'm going to go to my turn handle, or you might still have it called angle in yours. But underneath my axle handle, this angle constraint that I put down, I'm going to go ahead and double click on it and change it to 0 degrees. So it's up and down. You can use your ruler in theory. It is measured out perfectly when we built it. But actually for this, what we're going to do instead is we are going to pull out our measuring tool. So we go to Tools, we go, not Tools, well you could do Tools, or Inspect, either or. We're going to go to our measuring tool. And if you hover over it, you'll see it'll tell you the quick command is M. So I just have to hit M on my keyboard, and it pulls that up automatically. Our measuring tool on this little window should pop up on your screen as well. And I'm going to click on two faces to measure between. I'm going to click on this face and this face, and it's going to tell me the distance is 1.715. And then I'm going to go ahead and type that in an Excel document. So I'm going to open up an Excel document, and actually I'm going to go ahead and widen a few of these columns here, so I have plenty of room for myself to work. I'm going to make, well, actually I'm going to go ahead and call this, I'm going to name this first column here. It's my pear cam. It's actually pear 2. There's another cam that you can work with later. So I'm going to call it pear cam 2. And then I'm going to make this first column here, let's make it our angles. And of course, in the first angle will be 0. And then this next one, it'll be distance, right? It's a distance of the follower, or the distance between the follower and our guide, the tip of the follower. So we can call that maximum distance or just distance for short. And what did we get for our measurement when we pulled that up? It was 1.715. And then the next one I want you to measure is 15 degrees. So I right click OK. I change this degree to, well, let's go actually click on it, 15 degrees. And let's see how that changes the measurement. It didn't look like it changed it much. Let's check. So we pull out our measuring tool. We click, and it says it's still 1.75. So 15 degrees and 1.715. It doesn't change. And if you think about it, as you type in the next one, it makes sense that it won't change. It won't change until we get to a point in our cam that actually lifts it up. So a further degree down, so if we went to, like, I don't know, 150, you'll see, well, that started pushing the follower up. And I'm going to measure it to show you that it pushed the follower up. Although we're not going to type in this measurement because we're not ready for it. We're still at 30 degrees. But you can see how that number rose up. We're going to get all of them. So I'm going to go back to, this time, 30 degrees. And let's hit M on our keyboard, or we can just hit measure. And we click and click, we get that distance. It's still 1.715. So we type in 30 degrees, and then we could say still 1.715, and it's going to be 1.715 for a while. And you might say, well, can't I just fill all these in right now? And the answer is yes. Although at a certain point, you might have to get out a calculator and do the math. Instead of typing it all in, I'm just going to say, I'm going to type in an equation. I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to equal it to, let's see, this is B7. And as I noticed, it is adding 15 on to each number. So I'm going to say B7 plus 15. And then it does the math. And you might say, well, Mr. Anderson, that's great, but I have to type that in for every single one. It seems to me to be faster just to do it in my head. But what I can actually do is I can copy this. So I right-click and I copy, and I can actually paste this in. I'm going to hit Control-V on my keyboard to paste, and it'll do the math for me. You notice this one says B8 plus 15, and I do it again, Control-V on my keyboard, and it pastes that one, and it automatically does the math for me. And I actually can actually do this for multiple, and you can see it actually filled in all of them by just selecting it. So look what I did again. I selected several in the column, and it kind of senses what I wanted to do. Each one is taking the number above it and adding 15. So you can see this one says B11 plus 15. So B12 will be B11 plus 15. B13 will be B12 plus 15. And then it'll keep going all the way to 360 degrees, which is where we will stop. And then I will just keep going on. I'll add 15 degrees, and I'll get the measurement each time. And just to make sure, I'm going to make sure they're all 1.715 before I type them in. But I just keep going with it, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this table. And I'm not going to do the whole thing in the video. You'll do most of it on your own, but I just want to show you where it starts changing. So we get to 60 degrees, we hit M on our keyboard, See if I hit the right button. Click and click. It's still 1.75, 715. I'm sorry, excuse me, 75 degrees. We hit M, and actually, I could even make this screen here, and I'll pull Excel back up. I can make this one, if I can get a hold of it. I can get a hold of the screen, move it over just a little bit. There we go. I can make this line up here so I can see both back and forth. And so this is still 1.715, which is kind of nice. But then 75 degrees was also still 1.715. And then I'll change it to 90. And it doesn't look like it's still, or it looks like it still hasn't changed, but it's still 1.715. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. 105. And did it change that time? Let's see. We do M again. And it's still the same number. Let's try 120. And it looks like I saw it move. Let's make sure. We'll hit measure. And we'll click on both. And you can see that 120 is the first time that number went up. And it went up to 1.7415. So let me get that again so we can see it. Hit M. Measure it. And if I look over, I can still see the number. So I go down to, we're at 120 degrees. So that's 1.745. And these ones are still 1.715, and then I can just go ahead and copy and paste these down on these, and then I can keep going from there. I'd like you to fill in the rest of this table for the rest of the degrees on your own.